Why did the imam, the rabbi, and the minister cross the road? To get away from their congregations, she said. Oh, we're going the wrong way, Elizabeth. To get to the other. Odessa Settles is a nurse who tells this story about the practice of hospitality. She was a newborn emergency transporter practitioner in charge of a team of helping newborns get from wherever they were to a place where they could be treated as they needed to. So she was meant to pick up a child from a hospital, and her team consisted of herself, she was a black woman, a white nurse, and a white driver. When she walked into the hospital, the doctor and nurse treating the tiny infant turned, of course, to the white nurse and asked what the process would be. And the nurse responded, "No, the person in charge is Odessa." The father of the infant entered the room at the same time, and in a loud and angry voice said, "I do not want you to touch my baby." So Odessa, trying to avoid any public confrontation, pulled the father into a quiet space for a private conversation. And she said to him, "I sense that you were probably raised in the South with all its culture around black and white people, and so was I. But today, let's try to not make it about you and me. Let's try to do whatever we can to help this child survive. Of course, if you still say I can't touch the baby, I'll walk away." So the father reluctantly consented, and Odessa and her team worked to stabilize the baby. And then Odessa, sensing how precarious the situation was, decided that the infant needed to have a little bit of skin time with its mother, who was also in critical condition. So she carried the baby to its mother for that moment of touch, and then with her team got the child to a higher level neonatal intensive care unit. About 2 months later, Odessa was working in a clinic. She was kind of filling in for someone. She was working with premature babies who were still needing to address some of the lung development issues when that same father walked in. His infant was on oxygen. And he looked at Odessa and said, "Do you remember me?" And she said, "Oh, yes, I do, very well." And he said to her only these 6 words, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." The heart of hospitality is the conviction that God created each and every one of us in God's image, no matter how other they might seem to us. And people can seem other to us for all kinds of reasons, because they're from a different culture or speak a different language, because they live in the land of the wealthy while we live in the land of the poor, or vice versa, because they elect to put tattoos up and down their arm and neck, because they choose to love people of the same gender, because they came into this country crossing a border, perhaps even illegally, and living here undocumented, because they voted for Biden and we voted for Trump, or vice versa, because they leave their outdoor lights on at night when you don't. Because they eat vegan and you don't. Because they believe climate change is caused by human activity and you don't. Because they are against vaccines and you aren't. And so on and so forth. There are so many ways we can let people seem other. I've made a list. I'm going to pause just for a moment to allow you to think about what might be that way you other people. In the face of that, hospitality is simple, but it is not easy. It is simple because all it asks us to do is see the world through God's eyes with that sense that every single human being is beloved. The person in front of you, no matter how aggravating to you, is made in God's image. And this is exactly how Jesus moved through the world. If you study Scripture carefully, Jesus never leads with concerns about others' alienness or their sins. He always is first about making a genuine connection with another human being, engaging a person towards their wholeness. Hospitality, therefore, is not just about having guests over. It's rather a lifetime practice of encountering others in the mind of Christ, believing that every encounter that we have with another human being is an opportunity for us to be blessed with an encounter with the divine. That's why I've always loved that passage from Hebrews, talking about how by showing hospitality to strangers, we might be entertaining angels unawares. Hospitality is a virtue that creates a fertile ground between estrangement and friendship. Hospitality is how we see that interaction as an opportunity for us to host the divine in another human. It's the job of reducing that space of estrangement and alienation between the you and the me by creating a hospitable space. And it can be cultivated into a habit. It's one of the many reasons to come to church, because here is a place that we practice this habit until it becomes ingrained in us. It is one of the reasons why, no matter how much you dislike it, and I know some of you do, passing the peace is one of the ways we simply, week after week, exercise those muscles of hospitality until this practice expands within us and we're able to take it out into the world with us. We want to practice that habit like the nun with Alzheimer's, who insisted every day that her wheelchair be wheeled out to the front entrance of her nursing home so that she could greet everyone who came in the door. She was no longer certain who she was welcoming and what she was welcoming them to, but hospitality was so deeply ingrained in her that she could still practice it. To be a Christian is to practice hospitality in every moment, and that's not always easy. Just this morning, as I was driving in here today, I was coming down Wiles District. I was going about 25 in a 30 zone, I think it is, when all of a sudden, where there's a hill and a curve, you know it well, Elizabeth, it's right near your house, the woman passed me. Oh my goodness, my first thought is, you are an idiot. My second thought, the one that I practice in church, was maybe she just found out her daughter was in an accident. Maybe she misread her plane ticket and is late. That moment, my first instinct was to dismiss and cut off relationship, to create no space of hospitality. But my second was the moment in which I said, there is a space of curiosity where I might welcome that woman. I might have a relationship with her. So here is the challenge for all of us to practice this week. How can we be more hospitable in all of our interactions with others? How can we practice hospitality, welcoming strangers, and might we discover there are some angels that we are entertaining?